What is happening, Blades? Welcome back to the Blades Ramble. And today, another Jimmy Meets, this time, the one and only. I'm going to jump straight into it. The one and only, the founder, the owner of the number one subscribed to Sheffield United fan channel, the one we're all been chasing. It's Ingood, Nick.
Hey!
Nick, welcome to the Blades Ramble. We have to sort of acknowledge it's not yet actually your first time on the channel because you did jump in and
I
save
saved
me.
you in that live stream when you had a transformer in the background, I remember rightly, some sort of robot in the background.
Yeah, so my lights in my car look like a bit of a robot. Yeah, I was away at the caravan and trying to do my first live stream or my second live stream. It was not going well. And Nick kindly jumped on to help me out. So yes, mate, I've tried to archive that in the never happened file, but I really appreciated you jumping on and doing that for me. So how's it going, mate? How are things?
Things are very good. Very, very good. We took a little bit of a break in between kind of last season and the start of this season, and we're back in full flow. So, no, it was nice to have a little break because in the past I've just gone hell for leather and gone content, especially in lockdown and stuff like that. I just went crazy for it. So, yeah, it was nice to have a little break. Obviously, I've got a 1-year-old son now, so he's been say running around. He's not far from running around, but yeah, he's running as ragged anyway. So yeah, all going good right now, mate.
Fantastic, mate. No better feeling. I wanted to get you on because you have sort of pioneered the interview ex-players and sort of get people on the channel to have really interesting podcasts and things of that nature, which I'm sure we're all aware of. Nobody's really asked you about you, really.
No one cares. That's why, Jimmy. No one cares about little old me. I'm just the guy in the background. Mate. Hal's the one that takes all the plaudits.
Well, we'll get to Hal. We'll get to Hal. Don't worry about that. But so I wanted to get to know you a little bit, mate. And I know we know each other a little bit now off camera, but for viewers of the Sheffield United Way and viewers of the Blades Ramble, I thought it'd be good for them to get to know you a little bit more. So, first up, what are your earliest memories of being a Blade?
Yeah, I've been asked this a few times before, and I'm sure I started watching the Blades the season after we were relegated in 90 whatever, early 90s. I can't remember what year it was, but my dad always tells me a story about me not wanting to watch football, not caring about football. When you take a kid to the lane or any football ground, at a certain age, they're not bothered. They just want to sit there and twiddle the thumbs. Like these days, kids play on iPads and all sorts. We didn't have stuff like that when we were younger. So I must have been bored senseless. And my dad, being a massive, massive Blade, would take me all the time, and I wasn't bothered until the end when we got relegated, last game of the season against Chelsea. I started taking an interest, apparently, and that is so Sheffield United. That is so kind of defeatist and stuff. It's like, when we're rubbish, that's when I want to be a Blade. So that's what I always get told. But the first game that I actually vividly remember wasn't until 96, I think it was, 97, something like that. It was Stoke away, and we won 4-0, and Michel Vonk scored 2 early goals, and I think we were 3-0 up by like the 19th minute. So obviously that's when you're interested. That's when it piques your interest, when goals start flying in and you start doing really well.
Oh, Vonk. Yeah, bloody hell, that's a throwback for me. Yeah, brilliant. And
are we a similar age,
them sort of players? Yeah, I'm probably younger than you looking at things, but no, I'm not.
Looking
at
things. Wow, looking at things, as in looking at our faces. Is that what you're trying to say? 3 minutes in, already been absolutely destroyed by Jimmy.
It's must be hard work growing a YouTube channel to ridiculous numbers. That's what it is. So speaking of YouTube, what first made you want to jump on the platform and become what is essentially a content creator now?
Yeah, so I wasn't a Sheffield United content creator from day one, as you might already know. I started watching KSI and let me think of all the old FIFA YouTubers from back in the day. AJ3, I think he was called. I've forgotten about all these people that I used to watch because I just don't watch content like that anymore, but I used to watch it all the time and thought, just like you thought when you saw me in Triple Point, I've heard you mention that a few times. I can do what they're doing. I can do that. And people will watch straight away. They'll love me. I'll get 1 million subscribers straight away. But we all know that it doesn't work out like that. But in the FIFA space, there is scope for like millions of views and millions of subscribers. But in the Sheffield United sphere, not quite as much as you already know. Even the Sheffield United YouTube channel only has like under 200,000. So yeah, if we're expecting to be kind of like million subscribed to channels, it's probably not going to happen. But no, I started as a FIFA YouTuber, if you like. Shocking setup, shocking camera, shocking. Actually, no, it was a really good camera because I borrowed it from work. Shocking microphone, shocking most things. And actually, I used to use the camera's microphone, which is a massive no-no for anybody out there that's creating content. You need one of these little bad boys. But yeah, once you invest in good stuff, then you start getting the following, really, because yeah, you don't want to watch someone that you can't see and you can't hear. But no, I did FIFA YouTube for probably a year or so. I used to record a video, spend about 3 hours editing it, and then my missus thought that was absolutely fine. These days, I would not get away with that at all. But no, I started off doing that, and then I kind of moved into like kind of trending football topics. And I think if I'd have stayed in that kind of sphere, it would have gone one way or the other. I would have made it big, or I would have finished YouTube completely, because the reason why I moved on to Sheffield United content was because doing trending football topics, you'd have like one really, really well watched video, well received video, and then you'd have 20 that got 100 views, 200 views, 300 views, and it was so demoralizing. So going into like a Sheffield United space where I know a lot about Sheffield United because I'm a fan. There's always going to be football games to talk about. There's never not going to be any content. And really, obviously, once you've tapped into those Blades fans, then one, it's something that you're passionate about. And two, there's always going to be views there because there's always going to be Sheffield United fans, games, and things to talk about, really.
Yeah, spot on, mate. You've answered my next question, because I was going to ask you why you switched to the Blades, because obviously you've gone from what could potentially be a really wide market, or certainly much wider than the one we're in, and you've reverted over to the Blades, which is understandable because it's what we're passionate about. When did the rebrand come in for the Sheffield United? What made you want to rebrand it, and which came first? Because I know you brought Hal on board, and for me that was the turning point of the channel. But what made you?
Wow!
No.
That's two.
Between
a third, and I'm gone.
No. We can edit it out, mate. Don't worry. So I genuinely think bringing Hal on gave a different dimension to the channel. It doesn't mean obviously our content wasn't already appreciated, but that you seem to just take off from there. I appreciate when the Prince interview happened, that sort of blew things up, but you already had loads of momentum, the two of you. And obviously later on, Ollie's joined as well. But what was the thought process behind the rebrand and bringing Hal on board? Because as a content creator myself, I've just brought Hope on board to do the shorts aspect and the short form content for the channel. But in terms of bringing a co-presenter on, it's when it's your baby and you've grown it and you've got a formula that works and people seem to like it and you're doing well, which was obviously the spot you were in. It's a genius move, but what made you think, I need something different here, I need to change it up a little bit?
The main reason for it was because I was thinking I wanted to reach as many Sheffield United fans as possible. And once you start getting a bit of traction, you know that certain people like you, certain people don't like you. And it could be anything, one of any reasons. Like I've had a bit of stick on Twitter recently for different bits and bobs, but it's just life. Some people don't like certain people. It could be a voice. It could be what you talk about. It could be a face. It could be one tiny thing that you've said about one thing that somebody just thinks, I don't agree with that and I hate them forever. So the idea was bringing on another voice first and foremost, because I know my voice can get monotonous after a bit, as some people have mentioned in the past. I felt lucky with Hal, but I'll get onto Hal in a second. The reason for the rebrand was because I was thinking that I wanted more voices on the channel, more opinions, and someone to bounce off. Really, the idea wasn't to have a co-presenter. That was never the idea of mine. It was just to bring another voice onto the channel, whether it be kind of fans react that we went on to doing later on. I didn't really know what I wanted from it. I just put out there that I was interested in bringing someone else in. I had a few people message me, but randomly, I just messaged Hal and just said, fancy doing a video together? And luckily enough, the reason why I messaged him was because it said podcast in his Twitter bio. That's the only reason. Like, I saw it, I just clicked on it. I'm like, he does a podcast, he might be all right. And turns out to be a radio presenter by trade. So that was really, really lucky. But no, I moved from kind of doing the trending football topics to Sheffield United because of the passion for Sheffield United, really. You always should do videos, what you're passionate about, because if not, you'll end up just quitting. You just will. Like, not everybody's passionate about the job that they do when they earn money to live. And the reason why you do it is mostly for money. But when you're doing something on YouTube, you're not getting loads and loads and loads of money coming in. It's not going to be a job that you're going to quit your day job for, unless it's massively, massively successful. So you need to make sure you are passionate about what you're doing. If not, you are just going to quit.
Agreed, mate. And I think you touch on something really, really important there. And the fact that you've now got 3 presenters and obviously other people that contribute to your channel, but 3 presenters now. If you ever were to suffer a dip in your enthusiasm, even for a week or two, you can take a step back and sort of recharge your batteries a little bit, can't you? Rather than just pump out content that feels like a chore. Because I know if I ever get to that point where it feels like a job, then I just won't want to do it. And at the moment, it's fun. And you've built it in now. So you've got that sort of safety net of, well, I've got the option that I don't have to do this week. I can ask Ollie if he'll mind picking this up, or Hal might be able to do it. So yeah, I think it's a smart move for you. It keeps, like you say, it keeps you engaged, doesn't it, and stuff. You look like you're going to jump in and say something.
I just wanted to say one thing that might be a little bit humorous. The main reason why I changed it from Ingood Nick to the Sheffield United way was because when I brought Hal on, he was going on other people's channels and saying, "Hi, my name's Hal from the Ingood Nick channel," and it just sounded really weird. And then I transitioned it from Ingood Nick to the Sheffield United way by calling it Ingood Nick, the Sheffield United way. And then it sounded even more ridiculous that it would go on saying, "Hi, I'm Hal from Ingood Nick, the Sheffield United way," and it sounded so ridiculous. But the idea was to transition fully from the Ingood Nick channel to the Sheffield United way. And for a few months, I wanted it to be Ingood Nick, the Sheffield United way, before it fully went over to the Sheffield United way. So, it was. Do you know what? I enjoyed listening to him say, "I'm Hal from the Ingood Nick channel." It was hilarious.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because that Ingood Nick from the Sheffield United way don't like flow off the tongue at all. But what you don't want people thinking, where's that Ingood Nick channel that I've been enjoying? Because you need that crossover, don't you, for people to understand that, look, exactly. We're still here, we're still doing similar content, but we've rebranded it, we're refreshing things. So you bring Hal in and you keep going from strength to strength as a channel. Your subscriber count continues to grow. You start getting ex-players on, which is always really interesting, as we've touched on. And the one that sort of pushes you over the edge, correct me if I'm wrong, mate, because I know you were riding high already, but you get Prince Abdullah, the absolute coup of the century. You get Prince Abdullah on the Sheffield United way, who gave a very open, honest, frank explanation of where we were at the time. People have been crying out for news because he doesn't always communicate things directly through the club. It's quite a closed shop a lot of the time. I know we've got Darren Smith that facilitates updates for us via Twitter, but nobody really with a platform like yourselves that can get news out there. So just how much success came from the Prince Abdullah interview, how you know, how did you get it going, to be fair? And when's he coming on the Ramble? No, I'm going to...
Well, the reason for us doing the video with the Prince was a funny story, actually, because I was at work and I got a DM from Prince Abdullah himself back in the day when everybody had ticks that were important. Now anyone can have a tick on Twitter if they want. But I remember getting a message from the Prince saying, "Watched your live stream last night. Really enjoyed it." I think that was all it was. Short and sweet. He's a very short and sweet sort of person. That doesn't mean he's short. By the way, Prince Abdullah is tall. Like, you don't realize how tall he is until you meet him in person. I think he's about an inch taller than me. And I'm like, I hate anyone that's taller than me. It's like, I feel like a child because I'm more often than not taller than other people. But yeah, very tall man. Anyway, that's on a side note. Well, so yeah, it was a very short and sweet message. I remember ringing my dad up and telling him, "Oh my God, this has happened." And he's like, "Are you sure it's him?" And I'm like, "Dad, you can't get a blue tick if you're just anyone." So obviously messaged him back, had a bit of back and forth, asked him on the channel straight away, as you do. And he did say he would come on eventually. And I don't know how long it was. It might have been 6 months or something like that. But we kept at it, and eventually came on the channel. And he was fantastic. He really was. Like, he never asked for any questions up front. We offered them. He said no. He just wanted to roll off the tongue. And there wasn't anything that he said that he was like, "Oh, take that out." Because we always ask every player, we say to him, if you say something that you want kind of stricken from the video, then we'll do it. Just let us know. But he didn't say anything like that. He just honest, just a very, very honest bloke. And I think that's why we've got on with him so well. If he was kind of trying to get us to peddle like propaganda or anything like that, we wouldn't do it. We just wouldn't do it first and foremost. And he doesn't. And that's the thing. That's what's made the relationship with the Prince so good, I think.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, and it's nice to get you on and sort of clarify that, because I know that that's the case. We've spoken about it previously. But I think there's a misconception amongst a minority that think, "Oh, well, cost they're in the Prince's pocket per se, then they won't criticize the club." That's not, it couldn't be further from the truth. You can you still give honest opinions on what you think.
And do you know what, mate? I'll just jump in there because I think this is a good point where to mention the stream that he watched was us talking about Chris Wilder when he left the club, and obviously he was interested in what fans had to say. I don't know if he'd watched any videos before that, but the reason why he said he really enjoyed it was because we were so balanced and we didn't just give kind of like, because obviously we all love Chris Wilder, or we did, and a lot of fans seem to forget how brilliant Chris Wilder was. And we all love Chris Wilder, but we came at it from two different points. Obviously, Chris's point of view and the Prince's point of view, because obviously it wasn't all cut and dry. It was a very complex sort of, not relationship between them, but like situation at the time, because obviously if that would have been any other manager, they probably wouldn't have cared that we were losing that many games, or not as much as Chris did. So we brought in lots of different points from different from the manager's point of view, from the Prince's point of view, and he liked the fact that we were coming at it from Chris's point of view as well as the club's, because I think he probably thought he was going to watch a stream of two Sheffield blokes just banging on about Chris Wilder being this massive legend, which he actually like he absolutely is. But at the same time, we were trying to look at it from every possible angle, because everything's not as it seems always. So yeah, at this point we didn't have any kind of inside. We were just kind of, I don't know, just chatting between us, and he liked what he heard.
I love that, because at the time, I don't know if I wasn't on the platform then, but I don't know if I'd have been mature enough to not let my Wilder tinted glasses blinker my opinion, because I'm on record saying I'm a huge Chris Wilder fan. Like you say, everybody is. But as time's gone on and you sort of start to hear how things unraveled and you get both perspectives, you sometimes, I think most people now fall in the middle somewhere, as in like they can probably see a little bit of mistakes on either side. Maybe if both parties had the time again, it might be a little bit different. But yeah, I think that balance is something you regularly bring. And again, that's something quite different to what I try to be balanced, obviously. But I like to give my opinion on things, and that might be quite polarizing for some, and then welcome anybody's feedback. So it's good. And that's another sort of feather in the cap of having a second voice on your channel, because you might think something and Hal may counter it with something else, or Ollie might say, well, I see what you're saying, but, and you're representing different people because we've all got different opinions on it. So yeah, really positive. So what I'm going to do now, mate, I'm going to jump into some Ramblers questions. So before, I've let them know that you're coming on, and they're going to pose you some questions, basically. So Osblade,
we say they, do you mean the 2 questions that you got from my mum and my dad?
Yeah. So your dad asks,
why do you not earn enough money so that you can pay our mortgage off?
It'll come. The Osblade asks, the player you'd most like to interview.
I've already done it, but I'll give you a better answer after this. But David McGoldrick was the one that I always wanted to interview, and it came true. I messaged him after he left the Blades, when he waved to the crowd and stuff like that. I think it was wasn't the Forest game, because the Forest playoff game, we'd already knew that he was leaving. I think it was the last game of the season against Fulham, if I'm right. And I just knew that he were off, and I sent him a message saying, "You've been incredible. I've loved every minute of watching you play football, because he's just such a talented footballer, and that's what we all surely go to football to watch, talented footballers. We've not had many in our time as Sheffield United fans, but he's definitely one of them." And he replied straight away, pretty much, and said, "Thank you very much. I have watched some of his stuff, and I really appreciate all the support that you've given me." And straight away I was like,
yeah,
oh my God, he just said that to me. He's watched me. He knows who I am. Which is always great to hear. But it took me like a year to get him on, because he went on like 3 holidays and then he signed for Derby. So it wasn't going to happen. But yeah, got him on recently, which was fantastic. Yeah, it's on 11K views, which is brilliant. One of the bigger ones, if not the biggest. I think it's the second one after the Prince, that one. Obviously, the Prince was one of those that we never thought was obtainable. So, that's not my dream to get him on, because it just came out of nowhere and I never expected it. It'd be nice to get someone on like Hecky from the it's like that'd be a statement of intent that like we've got someone like him on. But I don't know, from previous years, I think someone like, I know this might be a big shock to people, but someone like Jose Baxter, do you know, like someone with a story? I don't want to just interview Michael Brown, do you know, like the big James Beattie? I was a big James Beattie fan, don't get me wrong. I'd love to have Beats on, because I've heard he's a massive personality. But I like someone with a story. Like we interviewed Dean Hammond, and I was a little bit skeptical about it. But after it came out, I was so nervous about how everyone was going to take it. But after that, I think that set a benchmark that we can get players on like that weren't necessarily big legends of the club and actually performed quite poorly, and fans would still enjoy them. Like you got to see it from their point of view as well as our point of view. But yeah, probably Jose Baxter, to find out all the ins and outs of how he left the Blades, if you like. We'll just say that.
Controversial figure. Yeah, it's good. Somebody like Ched Evans as well, who obviously had a huge story to tell, and I don't know how much detail he'd want to go into, like, but it's everybody's aware of it, aren't they? And it's certainly polarizing. So
I don't think Ched will ever do an interview, to be honest. I've not even tried, but I don't think he's on any sort of social media. So I don't know how easy that would be. I'd also like to get Vas Babakis on, because he was one of my favorite players growing up, but absolutely. I don't think he speaks great English, and I don't think it'd be a great watch.
Fair dues, mate. What's your best game at the Lane?
I don't want to say the obvious. Can you guess what I think the obvious is?
I'm going to say 4-3 Forest.
Yes, 4-3 Forest. That was one of the best games of all time. It just was. Like, obviously, a game that finishes 4-3 sounds good anyway, but just being 2-0 behind, the fact that we were comeback kings that season, and you just never thought that we were beaten, even at Wembley. At Cardiff, when we played Wolves. I still thought we were going to come back in that game, even at 3-0 down. But let's try and think of a game that's not as boring as that. Best game at the Lane. Oh God! Do you know what? One that sticks in my mind, which is a weird one. I'm going for weird things in this interview. But Brentford at home when we were massively under the cosh, and then Didsey pops up with a little flicked header, I think it was, and it was just the most. Oh, that one and Blackburn when Rida Kadra missed a penalty,
Yes.
And then Ben Davies scored a goal in the last second. It's just like things that I'm getting tingles down my spine just thinking about these games, because it might be something about the night matches, because I can't really think of too many day matches, 3 o'clock kickoffs that were like, that was iconic, other than maybe like Ipswich when we got promoted. But yeah, it's these games that kind of like give you incredible moments and just make you think, why do you not like football? Football is just such a huge part of everybody's lives who love football, and those that support like Liverpool and Man United that just don't get that feeling, you know, those that are like, oh, I just like Man United because I like David Beckham from the past. It's like you need to grow up with it and just, I don't know, you feel it. Those moments are incredible.
Yeah, you can't teach it. It's in the blood, isn't it? It's a feeling rather than a sort of hobby, I think. And only those football. My missus is not into it at all. It annoys her that I am so into it, and she doesn't get it. And I don't expect her to, but no. It's just what we do, isn't it? It's you know, that sort of thing. So, David Vinter asks, "What do you think of the Ramble?"
Is that David Winter? But you said it in a German accent.
No. Nice.
No, I'm going to check. I've seen David Vinter
asks.
What do I think of the Ramble? I love it. It's fantastic. You offer something completely different. I love the hanging baskets. I love seeing your kitchen cabinets and stuff. It's incredible. No, I love it. And if you ever change, I remember saying to you really early on, because of the lighting, you should probably sit the other way so that your face is facing the window so you get more on your face. But you can't change it now. It's got to stay like that forever.
I know. It's a bit of a bind sometimes, actually, because eventually I will change it because I want a proper setup. No, and
you can't.
I know, but this is the kitchen. So people's dinner schedule has to revolve around the Ramble. So it doesn't always go down very well. It'll be fine when I'm single because she'll leave. So
yeah, well, then you'll be able to devote all your time to the channel, and that's all that
absolutely,
matters.
Mate. And we'll continue to grow. But I'm glad this question's been asked, actually, because again, I can't say it enough on the Ramble how much of a fan of the Sheffield United way I am and things like that. And what we don't want, and we've talked about this ourselves, is people to ever think that there's anything but support. I think we'd be trying to fool people if we thought that, if we were trying to sort of spin it that we both don't want to be the best that we can be. And, you know, you are number one and firmly number one at the minute in terms of subscriber count. And that's where I aspire to be, up and close in and amongst that. But you've always championed me and you've always wanted me to do well. And you've invited me onto your next fans forum, which will probably have taken place already by the time this goes out. So I want to sort of just officially, while you're here as well, to corroborate, squash the myth that there's any sort of competitive edge between. I think we've made each other better. I think, you know, you are a driving force for me to aspire to be up and around that level. And I think, you know, you continue to freshen up your content and keep things engaging and fresh. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, mate, but that's how I definitely think of things between us anyway.
Absolutely. I don't feel like there's ever been anything like that. Obviously, it's healthy competition, and I don't really feel like we offer the same thing, if you like. We offer kind of like targeted things. Like, for instance, you'll talk about a few different things on your video. It'd be slightly longer form. I've over the years kind of trial and error on everything possible, long form, short form. And I think we've got to a place where we know what we do And I think you offer something completely different. Like Johnny offers something completely different.
Yeah.
Ben and Johnny offer something similar, as in, I say Ben and Johnny like everybody knows them. They should know them. Showroom View is Johnny and Traveling Blade is Ben. They offer something similar, but again, it's different because Johnny's is very much laddie sort of banter, drinking the pub and chatting to your mates. Whereas Ben's is, I think Ben's would have probably transitioned to a bit more into that because Ben likes to drink as well as Johnny does. But Ben's was definitely like home games, walking to the game, sat in the cop, filming himself. Which that's one thing that I've said to Ben before. I could never sit in a ground and film myself talking because people around me would be like, "What is this mug doing?"
It just feels like it's going to be uncomfortable to do. And particularly where I sit in John Street, everybody will be able to hear me because nobody sings. So I'd just be talking to myself and they'd hear my commentary, if you like. So, yeah, it won't be coming to Ramble anytime soon either, mate. So I know what you mean. No, but thank you, David Vinter, for your question.
You're going to say that from now on, aren't you? And David Vinter is not going to appreciate that at all.
No, Ian, and I apologise.
Sorry, David.
Please, I love your support. Stick with the Ramble. And a follow-up question is submitted is, do more Blades, you sort of answered it anyway, but do more Blades creators dilute the audience for the channels? In your opinion?
You're expecting me to say no now after what I've just said. I might be kind of going against what I said. I do think a little bit. But at the same time, as long as we keep offering different things and we're not crossing over, then that I don't see why that would be a problem. But yeah, for the most part, no, because I think you've got a fan that likes specific content. They may cross over every now and then to different things, but I think there'll be people that like Blades Ramble and won't like Sheffield United Way. I think there'll be people that like Sheffield United Way and not Blades Ramble, and then there'll be people in the middle. So I think there's always going to be content, as long as there's enough content out there for every Sheffield United fan to enjoy. I obviously want them to watch Sheffield United Way, but I don't mind who they watch as long as they're watching content on YouTube, because when I started doing this sort of content, I got so much stick, and I feel like I've taken the stick for everyone doing what I'm doing, because like nowadays people, it's more accepted than it was back in the day. I remember doing a video, how to beat Liverpool, and I titled it like that, and it was me talking about Liverpool's best players, our best players, how we can neutralize them and things like this. And I got so much stick, people saying, all right, well, if you know how to beat Liverpool, then you should be Chris Wilder, shouldn't you? He shouldn't be in a job. And like, I just feel like over these years, it's been more acceptable to create YouTube content, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, it has. You certainly pioneered it in terms of this space. And yeah, I didn't know I had Jose Mourinho on channel. I'm a little bit in awe.
You should be.
While you're talking about that, then we'll jump down to one that Rob's asked, and he wanted to know a little bit more about the impact of social media abuse. And it's something that interests me as well, because we both come on and we put ourselves out there, and with that comes an opinion. And also with that, we know that we're going to potentially we will get people that disagree with us, but some people will fire back quite aggressively. You've just done a recent video on some stick that you got online. And to be fair, it's difficult. It's all right for us to sit here and say it's out of order because, we're not going out to offend anybody. We're not saying anything that will deliberately hurt people or anything like that. We're giving an opinion, and people can disagree. That's absolutely fine. But I think the question is more around, how does it impact you? Because when I messaged you when I saw those messages come on, and I said, mate, I know you're saying online that you're okay and you're laughing it off, but I hope you're okay, because it's, it's uncalled for and there's no need. And you messaged me back and, didn't sell it at all. Mate, it's fine. It comes with territory. I don't know if I believe you, but what's your thoughts on social media abuse and how rife it is, unfortunately?
I think it's terrible, to be honest. Like, how I see it is, I would never abuse anyone online, even if I didn't like something that somebody's doing. I just wouldn't get involved. I just don't think it's needed. I said to my wife the other day, like, or when all that was happening, that I don't think I've abused any. I say abused, but I don't think I've even like had a go at anyone on social media since I were about 16 on Facebook. Do you know what I mean? And like, I don't surround myself with people that would do anything like that. And then when I was getting all this hate, I'd have personal messages from friends that are like, this is out of order, blah, blah, blah. But they wouldn't fire back in my defense because they're not them sorts of people. And that's what I mean. Like, I think sometimes I look at it and think, I want to fire back. I want to say things. But over these years on Twitter, I used to get quite a bit of abuse at the start, like I said, from people not really understanding YouTube and not many people doing it, and not just kind of older people set in the way, just not understanding it. But then kind of like you move on, and then you get to a stage where like you're getting more eyes on the channel, you're getting more eyes on social media, and then people feel like it's a good thing to like kind of put you down. And again, it's just not something that should be done. Somebody said to me, like you said, it comes with the territory. It shouldn't though.
No, it
like
shouldn't.
Just because we're putting ourselves out there to create free content for people, this is what we always say: it's free content. Like, we might get a little bit of a kickback in revenue and stuff like that, which we deserve for all the effort that we put into it. But we are doing this for free. Nobody has to pay for this unless they want to. So, like, you don't have to. Why are you giving me stick when I'm putting all these hours into making content for the team, not for the team, but for audience of the team? Like, we're all blades and stuff like that. Because I remember firing back once and just saying, like, these are our fans that are giving me stick for no reason. I've not spoken to any of these people. And there was one guy, I mentioned this on the podcast that me and Ollie did. There was one guy that hated my guts. And I just said to I think it was 3 or 4, not too many people, just drop me a DM if you feel this like much hatred towards me. Just drop me a DM and we'll have a chat. And one of them did. And we had a chat, and after kind of 2 or 3 messages, like, we got on. And he's like, "Oh, right. I didn't realize you were actually a real person." Because people don't online, do they? They just see someone and they just see a few words on a phone, and they feel like it's fine to just have a go at someone. And one guy that did give me a lot of stick, I messaged him on Facebook because he blocked me on Twitter, which was really nice of him after giving me stick. I messaged him on Facebook because we used to be Facebook friends, and said, "Come on, like, there's no need for this. Let's just have a chat about it. I'll buy you a pint. I'll buy you a pint for you giving me grief. I'll buy you a pint, and we'll have a chat about it." Blocked me. And it's like, that's all I can do. And what I try to do these days is I try not to fire back, which I don't more often than not. I try to let it not affect me, because if somebody's willing to give somebody grief on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, it's probably not somebody that I'd want to surround myself with in real life. So I try not to let it bother me as much. But when you get in kind of 10, 15, 20, and that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things that other people go through online on a daily basis. But like, that for me was enough. Like, just, it's fine 1 or 2. It might put you in a slight bad mood. But when you're getting 10, 15, 20 all in the same day, it just kind of puts you in a really bad mood, in a really dark place. Not in a terribly dark place, but like, you know what I mean? It's just a horrible thing to go through, and I won't wish it on anyone.
Yeah, it's so unnecessary, mate. And fair play for you reaching out to him, because I don't know if I'd give him time of day, to be honest. It's a case, if you don't like it, don't watch. You don't have to be abusive. I'm not, it's obviously not for you, so move on. Other people enjoy what we do, and if it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. But I know how difficult it is to get a pint out of you, so for you to go to that extreme, I think...
And you're not wrong. And you're not wrong.
Thank you for that, buddy. Gabe asks, slightly tongue-in-cheek, who is your favourite player and why is it Connor Salmon? Now, we've gone over the fact that Didzy is your favourite player of all time.
Yeah.
So that rules out both Didsy, and you can't pick Connor Salmon either. From the current crop, who is your favourite? And if I'm going to do an Ingood Nick, you can't say Illiman.
Yeah. I wouldn't have said Illiman anyway because it's pointless. I hate people that just pick the easy
You
one.
always wipe out the favourite, don't you? You wipe out the
it's-
favourite. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Tell me who your second favourite is.
Because Illiman is the greatest footballer that I've ever seen at Bramall Lane, like talent-wise, dribbling-wise, everything. So he's too easy to like. So let's think about somebody else that's not as easy to like. Not as it. That sounds bad. Like
Wow.
I'm going to pick someone that I don't like. No, I'm not. Let me have a think. I've really not ready for this one. I think likability wise, Brewster is very likable when you've kind of seen him, especially last season when he was injured and he was supporting the lads so much. Yeah. So likability wise, I think Brewster, if he just could get his shooting boots on and stop being injured so much, bloody injured so much. I think he would be very likable on the pitch. Let me think. This is a tough one. You're gonna have John Egan. Love John Egan. John Egan's like one of, because he's pretty much an ever present every season. Yeah. And I don't think he gets the respect he deserves because nobody talks about John Egan when it's going well. He's heading balls away for days. Jake Wright got a load of credit because he never lost a game in League One, Mr. Invincible. But that's the only reason why he got all that praise. Nobody will remember Jake Wright if it wasn't for that. John Egan just gets overlooked all the time. And if he makes an odd mistake here and there, then he gets dog's abuse. So John Egan, also met him at the awards dinner and he was incredible. Such a guy. Such a guy. And his missus watched the Sheffield United way. So there you go.
I'm sure she's a Rambler as well, but we'll get there one day, Blades. Sure. Don't worry. Moving quickly on, because I don't want to hear about your awards dinner. There's a little video on it on Sheffield United Way if people are interested. Kristen asks, will we stay up? And where do you see the club long term?
I think this is I don't think I could give a proper answer about us staying up until I've seen a few more signings through the door. By the time this goes out, we might have a couple more in because they are imminent right now. But I don't even think I'll be able to give you an answer at the start of the season because we don't know anything about these players. Like, all we can do is do his research, watch highlights of them on YouTube, and then hope for the best. But we don't know anything about these players. So, like, at least when kind of like you'd seen like Luke Freeman and Callum Robinson playing against us the last time we got promoted to the Premier League, and you thought, do you know what? They are top-end Championship, so they might do a job. Yeah. These are unknowns, and they're playing really well in like lower divisions. Is that the right thing to say? Just
lower standard.
Lower standard, yeah, good. That's exactly what I wanted to say. And I don't think we'll know until we start seeing them put some performances together. But as of right now, I'm probably more worried than I was last time we got promoted. Because I had absolutely no expectations, and obviously we did really well. And I think I've still got those 16 games where we couldn't win a sausage in the back of my mind from that kind of lockdown season. So we just need to win a game early on, win a game, get that monkey off his back because, we don't want to go 5-6 games without a win again. I think there's potential for us to stay up. I think we're in the best possible division or the best possible year to be in this division because obviously all three teams that went up the season before last stayed up. So second season syndrome and all that. You never know. They might all be down there. Forest, Fulham, Bournemouth might all be down there. And then there's obviously us, Luton. Everybody's saying that Burnley are 100% going to stay up. Who knows? You never know. They might have a bad season. And there could be other teams that get dragged into there, like Everton did last season. Obviously, West Ham did without Declan Rice as well. Who knows? But there's always a team that doesn't start very well and then gets kind of stuck in that relegation scrap. So there could be anybody next season in there. Brighton could end up being in there for all we know. So there's going to be a lot of teams for us to battle it out against to try and stay up. So yeah, I think it's a good season to get promoted anyway.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Agreed. And I think not many people had seen Leicester going down at the start of last season. I think Wolves might struggle after selling a couple of the more quality players. So yeah, I think there's going to be more in the mix this time. Hopefully, anyway, that's the plan for us. And if Forest are down there with us, then the more the merrier. Yeah, I'd love to stay up and then go down. That'd be ideal. Kyle asks, who do you think could have a breakout season similar to Lundstrom did in the first Premier League? Nobody saw that coming. The way he performed in that prolonged purple patch, if you like. And who could be a surprise star in terms of, you can include the new signings in that, or somebody coming through youth team or whatever you think.
Tough one, really. I'm a big fan of Harrison Neal, but I don't think he'll get anywhere near the first team for a while. Will Asula, I'm a big fan of. Obviously, watching him against Chesterfield, missing loads of chances. He needs a loan. I actually thought that the season before last, Will Asula had actually jumped Daniel Jebison in the ranks. So I don't know how Daniel Jebison's going to react to next season, because he weren't exactly pulling up too many trees in the Championship. So we'll have to see how he fares in the Premier League as well. Breakout season, though, it's a difficult one because there's a lot of youngsters there, but I don't think any of them are really up to scratch. I'm a big fan of Sai Sachdev, but he's got two quality right wing backs in front of him, and who knows, we might even bring another one in. I doubt it because we've got that right side on lockdown, I think, with Bash and El, and then obviously the two wing backs in George and Jaden. So I'd like to see Sai Sachdev get out on loan, have a really good loan, and come back and have a go at George. I think George would welcome it as well, because George is a fiery character that loves a bit of competition. No one's ever been able to knock him off top spot. Not Kieran Freeman, not anyone, not Jaden. So I don't necessarily think there will be a breakout star, to be honest. I think a lot of people are talking about Koulibaly could be the John Lundstrom. I just think that Hecky's seen enough of him. That's why he doesn't get the starts that people expect him to get. So I'll always agree with Hecky more than half of Twitter. But yeah, I think I've seen so many people saying that Koulibaly should be starting on Twitter. I don't know whether they're trolls or what, but not for me. So yeah, Sai Sachdev's one of them that I kind of am looking forward to seeing. I think that I'll quickly throw Louis Marsh in there, but I think seeing him against Chesterfield, he looked a bit out of his depth, wasn't really getting involved as much. So I think he probably needs a couple of loans, maybe another season in the development squad out on loan, because he's certainly a very exciting talent for the future.
Yeah, he is, definitely. I agree with Sai Sachdev's shout as well. I think George did have a bit of a spell out of the team at one stage where Bogle were being picked in front of him. And then as soon as Bogle got injured, George never looked back, because, like you say, he likes a challenge. He comes across as the type of character that will not give it up if he's got it. So it improves him. I think it's similar to how Ender was in the first season back in the Premier League, people chasing behind him, and it improves his own performances. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. I think just in terms of a surprise package, you've already touched on new signings being an unknown quantity, and that's absolutely right. But I think we're all hoping Traore can bring something a little bit different if he's the one to be completed in the next few days. Let's hope. So exciting this new sort of transfer strategy. One I'm going to chuck in randomly before I get, well, in fact, I'll tag it on to Kipper's question, because Kipper says, is Slimani Illiman's replacement, because he can also play like in an attacking midfield role? I think I know what you're going to say to that, but I'll tag on my own, which is, do you think Illiman is the key to survival? And if he goes, obviously there's the chance we'll go down. Do you think we need to keep hold of him at all costs, or do you think we cash in and reinvest?
I definitely don't think we cash in. I think if he wants to leave, I think the thing is with Illiman, from what I've heard of his kind of mentality, is that even if we said to him, you're not going anywhere, you might want to go to Marseille, but we're not letting you go, I still don't think he'd be one of those that downs tools and ends up training with the youngsters and stuff. I think he'd be like, no, I'm gonna get this team, keep this team up, and then leave, and then wave goodbye off to the sunset. I think that he's one of those players that's just loves football so much and so dedicated to his craft that he wouldn't be one of those players. But I don't necessarily think he is the key because he's only one player. He's fantastic, don't get me wrong. I think last season, at certain times, he went a bit quiet in certain parts of the match, but we all know that the best players in the world do go quiet at times, and then they'll just spring into life and do something incredible like Iliman does. But I do think if we do let Iliman go, if we can invest I'm not saying the funds, because we're not going to get the amount of money that we should get for Iliman because he's in the last year of his contract. But if we could invest the wages that we were going to give to Iliman to stay, then I think I've already heard a couple of the players that they're interested in. And for me, it sounds quite exciting. However, it's how they kind of gel and stuff like that. I do think that if you get 2 or 3 players, not like Iliman, because there's no one like Iliman.
No, there isn't.
2 or 3 players that for different positions that improve the squad, you could have an all-round better squad without Iliman, which is a big call. But at the same time, you probably wouldn't get that kind of Iliman picking the ball up, taking 4 or 5 players and then scoring an incredible goal that you need every now and then when your back's against the wall or something like that. So it's a bit of a sit on the fence question. I don't think Iliman is the key to staying up, but at the same time, he's just so talented that he could go and score 10, 15 goals next season. He could go and do anything he wants to be because he's just getting better and better season on season. So he'll be better next season than he was last season.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he'll make the step up quite easily, to be honest. And a lot of players will have question marks over whether they can or they can't. I think he's top of the list in terms of he will not be intimidated by Premier League defenders. Right, before I move on to our last question, mate, because we're going to start wrapping up now, but chances of him signing a new deal with Blades?
I think he's already signed it.
With the Blades?
Yeah, I think he's already signed it. There's no way that Ollie McBurney comes out there and tweets saying, next season, brother, me and you. There's no way he comes out and says that if Iliman's leaving. I just can't see it.
But it could have agreed to stay for the season and walk out for nothing. I'm talking about signing a new lucrative 3-year deal or whatever it's going to be, 10-year deal, hopefully.
Okay.
But new 3-year deal. What's the chances of us tying him down?
I think we tie him down. I don't think he's somebody that, and the thing is, he can obviously walk out next season with a big signing on bonus and stuff like that. But we're offering him a huge contract. So, I know how much he's on right now, and it's not a lot of money. So the amount that we're offering him compared with that is eye-watering. So I think as well, the thing is, I've heard that he's a very loyal person as well. So I think he'll want to pay us back. I don't think he's one of these players that's going to walk out the door in a year's time and say, goodbye, thanks for nothing. Because we gave him that, Slavisa Kanovic gave him that chance to be a championship footballer. And he proved that he's good enough. And he's proved it year on year, as I've just said. And I just don't think he's one of those guys that'll stick 2 fingers up at you.
I hope you're right, mate. I hope you're right. And just to confirm, that is an opinion and not an ITK exclusive.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not. Like I said to you, I hate the ITK stuff. I really do. Hate it. Because when you do a live stream and then you start getting into stuff and you nearly let something slip, no, it's not fun. I don't like it. It's stressful.
Well, it's difficult. And particularly for you, where people know that you have got a good relationship with the Prince. I know you're not round at each other's house for tea, but you do. Well, you might be. You correct me if I'm wrong there, mate. But because you've got that line into the club, it must be difficult for you to give an opinion on the channel without people thinking, is that an Easter egg that he's dropped there, or is that something that I need? So I wanted to clarify there that he's not definitely signed a new contract.
No, definitely
opinion.
not.
So
it's my opinion, and it's based on a tweet. So read into that what you will. An Ollie McBurney tweet as well. So it's not just that. It's not just that. It's from a lot of things that we've heard in the past about Illiman himself as a person. I think he will sign a new contract, and I hope he does, because obviously he's not going to be a Blade for all his career, because he will outgrow us because he's that good. I think the only way we keep him forever is if somebody comes in like a Newcastle owner and just buys every good player in the world, because Illiman will still be the best player on the side, even if we're signing Mbappe and all them lot. But no, he will outgrow us eventually, and he will move on. But I hope it's for 50, 60, 70 million than 10 or 15, what they're reporting right now.
Yeah, agreed, mate. No, thank you for that. Right, so I have tipped you off about this, so I don't know if you've had a chance to even have a look at it. But Jake's asking if we can name our all-time United 11. So I've
as in
mine.
Me and you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll go with yours. I'll go with mine. We'll probably go with positions, but I don't know if you're ready, but I can name my formation. I can name my manager. What's your thoughts? Can you go?
Okay, to make it easier, we'll do the same formation, because I'm not ready for this at all. So you just throw positions at me, and I'll throw someone back at you.
Right. So I'm
going. Is this favourite or is this best?
This is a blend of favourite and best, because, I mean, spoiler alert, I could put James Beattie in, thinking that he's probably the best striker that we've ever had in terms of top level talent. And I don't include Illiman in that. But in terms of James Beattie, but how can you not have Billy Sharp in your team? That's so, yeah, a bit of a spoiler there, but that's the sort of thing we're thinking about. So I'm going with the modern day formation of the 3-5-2, but I'm going with the championship version. So we've got the whole to play with.
Right, 10. Okay, the whole. I thought that was your goalkeeper. I'm like, who's the whole?
So, who's your manager? Who's best manager of your lifetime?
Chris Wilder, mate. Of course it is. Of course it is.
Absolutely right. Look, we agree on that. First call. Fantastic. Yeah. So, who's your goalkeeper?
But Hecky might eclipse him depending on what happens in the future. But for me, right now, it has to be Chris Wilder.
I was a huge Hecky skeptic, and he's taken me a long time to turn me, but I am fully on board with him being one at most wow.
Sorry.
You're not sorry. You're not sorry at all. He's turned me. And I'm fully on board. I think he's one of the most underrated and understated managers got around today. I think the young players seem to love him. I think he's going to be the key to keeping some of these really highly rated prospects, because he's a fantastic relationship with the players. And yeah, anyway, enough about Eki, but Wilder gets the nod for me, which will come as no surprise to anybody. Who's your goalkeeper, mate?
Dean Henderson. Love Dean Henderson. Oh, you Dean Henderson as well? We're too much alike, mate. I think a lot of people will say Alan Kelly, and he was... I always liked Simon Tracy. I always liked the underdog as a young kid. And because Simon Tracy wasn't getting the nod, Alan Kelly was. I was like, I like Simon Tracy more than Alan Kelly. So I don't know if that's
keepers.
Yeah, they were. But Simon Tracy was actually better before I was watching football. Everyone bangs on about Tracy in late 80s and early 90s, and then Kelly sort of after that. But Dean Henderson.
I know. Just a level above what I've seen. Honorary mentions to Alan Kelly, and I've gone for Paddy as well as my sort of runners up, because Paddy gave us some great service and great years. Not your stereotypical build of a keeper, and I don't just mean the obvious. I mean, he's not the tallest either. You wouldn't think he's very athletic, but he were pulling things out at the top corner and stuff. But Dean Henderson is just built to be a keeper, and I'm absolutely gutted that it looks like he's on his way to Forest, because I think if we'd have had another season in Prem, and it would depend on survival, if we were still umming and ahhing about his future, I think we're in with a strong chance of getting him, but it's come too early for us. So, yeah, Dean Henderson gets the nod for me. I'll go next. My right centre-back, with honourable mention to Chris Basham. And like we've sort of said with Hecky, I think Anel will, hopefully, if he stays with us long enough, force his way well into this conversation. I've gone Phil Jagielka at right centre back.
I don't know what to say about that. You've thrown a curveball in there because I don't know where to put Phil Jagielka in my team. I think it'll have to be Chris Basham just for the longevity of, and he was the pioneer of the overlapping right centre back. So it's Chris Basham for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very close to making it in my team. Who's your middle centre back? And it's between two for me.
I might end up leaving Phil Jagielka out at this rate, which I'm gutted about. But Chris Morgan, absolutely loved Chris Morgan. Would run through a brick wall for every manager who don't care who it is. He might not even got on with some managers, but that was who he was. He wasn't a great footballer. I remember hearing him talk on a podcast where somebody threw the ball back to him. And it's like, what are you doing? And this day, like John Egan will be asking for someone to throw the ball back to him. It's such a different game these days. But I think your formative years you see them more fondly than more recently. But yeah, Chris Morgan for me.
I have gone for the other choice. I've gone John Egan for me, and I think there's a gnat's hair between them because they're different players, but they're both.
John Egan's a million times better. Don't get me wrong.
But in terms of what they give to United, I think, because, Morgan's stronger, more aggressive, probably holds that intimidation factor over some attackers. He's a captain and a leader. I think Egan does all of that, but in a very different way. I'm not saying he's particularly intimidating, but I don't think people are like going up against him. I think as a middle centre-back, he dictates when people need to go and when people need to stay, and he sort of marshals that defence brilliantly. It's like you said earlier, he's so underrated, I think, by some at Blades fans, because it's no coincidence that we've had such a good defensive record in recent years, and he's been at the heart of that. So, yeah, Egan gets my call, but just over Morgan, who I think was also a fantastic player, and not well for the same reasons you said, basically. Fantastic captain for Blades. I think we're both going to be in agreement again for the left centre back. If you throw a brick at him, he'll head it back. Are we in?
Jack Robinson. Oh no, you mean the other Jack?
Yeah, the other Jack.
I'm only joking. Definitely not Jack Robinson. Jock. For me, if you take Illiman out of the equation, I would say that Jack O'Connell was probably, I don't know. Jack O'Connell was the best defender I've ever seen at Bramall Lane and best attacker. He was just fantastic in that position. Like, he was the overlapping centre back. Bash was fantastic on the right, but he did everything perfectly. Like, rock solid, won everything in the air. I don't think he was as tall as what we all remember.
No, he wasn't, I don't think.
Really good on the ball. I wouldn't say quick, but certainly wasn't slow when he was getting forward. Always seemed to find his man when he overlapped. And from that byline, he created so many goals from that left-hand side. And I remember on Match of the Day, it was an early one in the season. And I think within like 15 seconds, Jack O'Connell was crossing a ball from the byline. And like, they were like, what is going on here?
No, he's the centre-back. What's going on?
Yeah, fantastic player.
Absolutely brilliant. So 2 questions off back of that. Was he Wilder's best signing? Because
Not anymore.
There's so many to choose from.
Not anymore. I think, until he got injured, you have to say yes. But for 2 reasons. You said it on our channel, I think, as well. The amount of money that we paid him for not playing football, I think it's not his fault, but we gave him a lot of money and he didn't play a lot of games after a certain amount of time. He would have been playing for England. And if Gareth Southgate would have played 3 centre-backs, I've got no doubt that he would have been the left centre-back for years because he was that good. But yeah, I think it's got to be John Fleck for me, the Wilder's best signing.
Wow.
I just think that.
No, mate, it's valid, and it's all about opinions. And just to remind people, we don't condone social media abuse on this channel. So. Who are you going for? I can't remember whose turn it is, but who are you going for as your right wing back?
Oh, I've already spoken about him already. Vaspabakis, the Greek god. That actually, I think he was a bit homesick at Derby, bless him, and he didn't reach the potential of what he should have done. I think a lot of fans have probably heard his name. A lot of younger fans will have heard his name a lot.
Yes.
But I think probably the best debut ever for me.
Yeah.
So
he's one of the few players I remember from very young. Very exciting player, brilliant going forward, and just added a whole new dimension. We'd never seen a player like, or I'd never seen a player like it. Yeah, I get why Babakis is in there. He gets an honourable mention for me. I have written his name down, but it's the other Greek god that gets in my side, Georgios Baldokios. So, you shaking your head at George?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm sorry.
I don't know why.
I apologise.
I'd go so far. Oh no, he's not. No, he's not. He's my vice captain.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point. It is a fantastic point. I think that, yeah, I know why you've gone, George. I just think that Vaspabakis was in a bit of the Illiman mould, where he's like just one of the best footballers I've seen at Bramall Lane.
Bit of a maverick, weren't he?
Yeah, maverick. A lot of players that we've spoken to about him on the channel have said that he never got back. So like, it's not something that I really remember from being young. You just remember the great things they did going forward, not the fact that they never tracked back.
Well, this is my thoughts. Do we just remember him as a highlight package because he was so great in flashes? Whereas George is a grafter that we see week in, week out. And I'm sorry to sort of dampen your thoughts on Vass, but we'll move on before we fall out because I don't want the third strike. At left wing back, I was a huge Ender defender for a long, long time. And his first season back in the first season in the Premier League, I thought he was up there with some of the best in the division, and he could hang with them. No problem when he scored that belter at Brighton, and yeah, fantastic player in his day. I think it was the right decision this season to release him, but he's on my honourable mentions list because I've gone Wayne Quinn.
Oh God!
Similar to your Babakis reason, I just remember Quinn being one of the early flair players that I can remember, bombing down the left-hand side, very attacking fullback, got a big move to Newcastle. I thought, what a player he was. So, yeah, I've gone Wayne Quinn as left wing back.
Yeah, I know Wayne Quinn quite well as well. So if he watches this and I don't say his name, then he's not going to be very happy. But I'm not going for him. I'm going for Ender. I am. Right. I think.
I'm tagging Wayne Quinn just so he becomes a Rambler.
At left peg. No, I just think that Ender reached some of the best heights I've ever seen from a left wing back. I think that Quinn will say himself that when he moved from Sheffield United to Newcastle, it didn't go his way. And I know we're talking about the Blades and we're not talking about Newcastle or West Ham or whoever else he played for. I just think that Ender, you could have picked him up and put him into a Man City side or a Liverpool side or a Barcelona side, Real Madrid side at that point.
Yep.
And he wouldn't have looked out of place. Not at all. I just think injuries got the best of him. And I think it's one of them where, like, what's the quote? If you either die a hero or you live long enough to become a villain. And I feel like he's just become a bit of a villain at Bramall Lane. And it's no fault of his own. He's just got injured a lot. And every time he comes back, he gets injured again. And I think those injuries has took the toll on him. But everybody needs to remember the hero that he was. Absolutely. In that rise to the Premier League.
You get that, though. You get that because people will say now, Morgan Gibbs-White's a better player than Illiman and Dyer, and I will not have that argument at all because they remember him playing, even if you take out what he's done at Forest, and I do think he's come on since he's been there, but I still think Illiman is a better Sheffield United player than Gibbs-White was a Sheffield United player because people look back with rose-tinted glasses, and I hope with time, people, including Fleck, who I think he's probably in his last year with us, people look back at these players and think, yeah, absolute legend of the club, rather than he waned because he stayed a little bit too long. I hope that's the case anyway. Ender, yeah, superb player for us. My dad's got a theory that some players, and I think if I remember rightly, he puts Basham into this category, play to the level that they're at. So, like, in League One, Basham will have been an above average League One right.
I don't even think he was. I don't even think Basham was anything to write home about in League One. He played centre mid, and I remember a couple of little nice little flicks they did, and I'm like, oh, where did that come from? And obviously became accustomed to that as he went to right centre back. But I don't remember Basham being like above and beyond anybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. So when he goes, and then he goes up into Championship, but doesn't look out of place in Championship. He goes up into Premier League with us, and he's dancing through Man City team, which we've all seen that highlight. But then we get relegated, and he's back in team for a little bit, and he looks like he's a Championship player again. So, never count Basham out is probably the message. But there are players like that just play to the level, which I think is always quite an interesting conversation. Anyway, moving into centre midfield, one of the most obvious picks, I would think, Michael Brown gets into my centre midfield.
Yeah, agree. I'll go with that. Okay. Michael Brown, my lord, what a player. Loads of great goals that he scored for us. Loved the tackle as well. What I didn't like about what happened to Michael Brown after he left us is that he had one of the greatest seasons from anyone, never mind a midfielder, scored loads and loads of goals, and then everybody just used him as a dirty, horrible defensive midfielder.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So frustrating.
Fantastic player for us. Had quite a few seasons as well before that great season that he had, where he was one of the best players in the team, and they just excelled in that great season that we had. Every free kick seemed to go in, every penalty, bar the one against Wolves. He was just fantastic. He stepped up at the big points as well. So
great volley. Player. Oh, brilliant. Yeah, fantastic player. And I've done it this way around on purpose, so you can pick the next centre midfielder, mate.
Ollie Norwood. It's got to be. One of Chris Wilder's best signings. Ollie Norwood transformed us from being... Because I was thinking, when we sold... I've said this a few times. When we sold or got rid of Lee Evans, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I thought Lee Evans was everyone will look back on him and think he was rubbish, but he wasn't. He was a run-of-the-mill, decent central midfielder in the Championship. But Ollie Norwood took us to that next level. And I'm very surprised at how badly his free kicks have got over time, because I remember him putting the ball on a sixpence every time he took a free kick. And he had an odd off game, but no, he certainly, those have got worse when actually you should be practicing them more and they should be getting better. He's waned a little bit over the last year or so, but he got us into the Premier League with some of his incredible free kicks. He's obviously been the captain as well. It'd be good to have 11 captains in this side that we've got here, and I think most of them will be have those captain characteristics, and he's certainly got them.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I've gone for exactly the same. Ollie Norwood, and he transformed us, as you've said. There's nothing really that I can add other than I don't know whether his dip in form is due to confidence or just natural inconsistency, because if he was a consistent player, he probably wouldn't be playing for Sheffield United. If we're honest, he may well do now that we're in the Prem, but he wouldn't have been hanging around with us in the Championship because he is technically that good. But yeah, it is disappointing. His set-piece delivery. He's known as like a set-piece specialist, but anybody that watches us on a regular basis will probably say he ain't really. He ain't. So it's a bit of a myth. But other than that, I think, he makes us tick in a lot of ways, and it was a concern until he came out of the team halfway through last season. It was a concern that how will we ever replace this player who's clearly slightly on the decline and probably not going to get any better than he's been? How are we going to replace him? But thankfully, Tommy Doyle showed us that there are other men out there, and I think Norwood will probably play more of a bit part this coming season, but still a great man to have in and around the squad. And I think it speaks volumes as to how many current day players really we've got in the squad in terms of how Wilder and Eki have built this squad. My man in the number 10 position, honourable mention to Morgan Gibbs-White, who just misses out. I'm going with Mark Duffy. I think he's not just because he's the bounce slayer. I think he came in as a winger. I think he was a free transfer. I'm pretty sure he was free. And he made that Duffy role his own. We now all refer to it as the Duffy role, and I don't think anybody can truly replicate how he performed in that role. That was when both centre halves were overlapping. We would overload everybody with that triangle, and both sides used Duffy as the pivot. We've tried to use in recent times the right centre midfielder and the left centre midfielder to get that same momentum, but it's never quite clicked like it did with Mark Duffy. I understand why we went to a flat 3 once we got promoted in the Prem. Obviously, Duffy wasn't with us in the Prem, and we all know those discussions as to why that happened. But I think when the football I enjoyed the most really was that season where we beat Leeds to promotion, and we were playing that 3-5-2 with the Duffy role in full effect. So what's your thoughts on that, mate? The number 10.
The whole time you were talking then, I'm thinking, how am I going to get all these incredible players into these last few spots? And I still don't know how I'm going to do it. I feel like I have to choose either Duffy or David McGoldrick in this role. No, I don't. Duffy or Morgan Gibbs-White. I feel... Oh my God, what am I going to do? I feel like Morgan Gibbs-White, I'm going to leave him out just because he only played one season for us.
Yep.
But I actually disagree with what you said earlier. I think that Morgan Gibbs-White was better for United than Illiman. And only because I feel like our team last season, as in the season just gone when we got promoted, was better than the season before. And I think we looked to Morgan Gibbs-White more than we looked to Illiman to take a game by the scruff of the neck. I don't know. It's a tight one. They're both very, very talented footballers. They both did very, very well for United. I feel like Illiman's more of a individual player. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is more of a team player, if you like. Not saying that Illiman's not. I just think that Illiman could take 5 players on and score a goal, whereas Morgan Gibbs-White wouldn't do that. But I think he has slightly better vision than Illiman, where he can pick a pass and he can pass and move very, very quickly. He can flick the ball around the corner and stuff. They both can do what each other can do. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's move on, because I love them both. And I think the only reason why, I think a lot of people look at Morgan Gibbs-White and give him a raw deal is because he's gone to Forest. And I think he'd be seen as like one of the greatest players of all time that's played at Bramall Lane if it wasn't for him going to Forest. And feel a bit salty about it still. But let's go Mark Duffy. No, we won't. No, we're not. Let's go Morgan Gibbs-White. You've said Mark Duffy. I love Mark Duffy to bits. I'll say he's my honourable mention. It is the Duffy role. Everything that you said was absolutely right. I think Morgan Gibbs-White will play for England, and I think Morgan Gibbs-White will have an absolutely fantastic career. And yeah, we always look for him for inspiration. Scored some fantastic goals for us as well in that season. So we'll stick him in there. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I've got Illiman to put in. Oh my God, what have you done to me here? I want to put about 7 players in these front 2 spots.
Mate. It's not easy. It's not easy. But just to touch on that, yeah, I am a little bit salty about Gibbs-White, I'll be honest. But I can't understate what he did for us. I think he's, up until Illiman's breakout season, he'd have probably been in my top 5 in terms of best United players I've ever seen as well. So, yeah, all credit to Gibbs-White in terms of what a great footballer he was. Certainly in that short time with us, but I think he will go on and get better. So just hope somebody nicks him from Forest so I don't have to do it there. Yeah, top 2, very difficult, but I think mine write themselves, really. I've already given honourable mention to James Beattie. I'm going to give you both because I think it's straightforward, really. Beattie, that's James, not Craig, just for clarity. Because I think he was the best natural striker that we've probably had, up there with Billy. And Brian Dean just misses out as well, who will probably be my dad's team, but it's one that just misses out. I've gone for the star boy, Illiman Ndiaye, who is the best player I've ever seen in a United shirt, and the best natural finisher and the Championship all-time top scorer to partner him, the captain, the legend, the club icon, Sir William of Sharp. That's who I've gone for my top 2.
I noticed that you didn't give an honourable mention to the greatest footballer of all time in David
McGoldrick. Yeah, obviously, but you mentioned him too, so I didn't think we needed to go over him again.
Disgusting. I will. Do you know what? stuff scoring goals. I don't care about scoring goals. That's for silly people. I want to see incredible football, and I want to see David McGoldrick missing chance after chance. That's what I want to see. So I'm going Illiman supporting Mr. David McGoldrick. Who wants to score goals anyway? What do they even matter?
I like you admire Illiman's loyalty. I certainly admire yours because whether it's clouding your judgment or not, mate, I am not the one to judge because we've all got opinions. So
I will say though, I'm sort of saying this all tongue in cheek. You have to score goals, obviously, and James Beattie for me, and this is going to be a wild call as well because of what Billy Sharp's done for Sheffield United. But I feel like Billy Sharp had more chance of stepping up with us if we'd got promoted that season when we sold him to Stoke, which I think we would have done under Blackwell. I honestly think that Beattie would have stepped up and scored between 5 and 10 goals for us the season after. Whereas Sharp, he didn't ever really step up. And I think he sort of knew his level. Fantastic Championship striker, incredible League One striker.
Yeah.
But I feel like Beattie just edges it for me over Sharp.
I think Beattie's got a more all-round game, hasn't he, in terms of that. Obviously, he's capped at England level, and yeah, I think he's probably the best striker we've. Again, it's difficult, isn't it, to do these sort of teams, but I'll put these up on screen at somewhere so you can see what you think and compare, and let us know in the comments what your teams are as well. Please be nice to Nick because
no one's picking my team because I don't want to score goals.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's pick your own teams and vote for which one you think is better. Are you hashtag Team Ramble or hashtag Team SUW? And I'll let you know how that goes, Nick. But please, don't be offensive to our friend Mr. Ingood Nick because
he will cry.
I promise you, he does know his stuff. If you watch his channel, you'll know that he might not have demonstrated it very well here, but anyway, that's by the by. Nick, I've kept you so long. We ramble here, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm not really. So thank you so much for your time, mate. It's very much appreciated. And yeah, any final words to your adoring fans?
My adoring fans on your channel. No. I just really appreciate you getting me on. Obviously, we'll get you on our channel as well. That's going up tonight as we are recording this. But yeah, we are going to be on each other's channels a lot more. I think sometimes things just kind of get in the way. Family stuff, obviously. Football is going to be kicking off and it's going to be 100 miles an hour. You'll see, Jimmy. You will see how 100 miles it is next season. So no, it'll be fun. Really enjoyed this today. I like rambling as well, as you probably already guessed from this. So yeah, it's the perfect channel for me to come on.
Top man. Thanks a lot, Nick, and see you all soon. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades. Ramble on.